All right, everyone, today's podcast I think is going to be really, really interesting. At Crime Victims United, as you know, we try to help victims of crime in every aspect. We also talk a lot about prevention, and we also try to bring to light crimes that you're not necessarily going to see on the headline news. You're not going to be in your everyday consciousness. And one of the growing crimes out there right now is real estate fraud. And that is something that especially I believe there's a vulnerable population in our elderly that fall prey to real estate fraud. So with us today is Joanne Barragan. She is a realtor and a broker for Coldwell Bankers. She has been doing real estate for how many years?
17 years.
17 years, extremely versed. And what I love about Joanne is not only does she care about her clients and want to give her best, she works really hard to educate herself and educate her clients. And she's become kind of an area expert on fraud and talking to people about it and working with her clients to ensure that there's no real estate fraud. So Joanne, why don't you give us a little bit of background to you? She's also been on our advisory board for Crime Victims United for many years, and just talk about that connection.
Well, do I get to tell you, I bet you when you were driving up our driveway by accident, thinking my husband was somebody, and we both from San Francisco, so we instantly bonded, and then I got to know her parents, who I just fell in love with, and so having seniors as clients really put me in tune with, everybody is so comfortable doing things online, but not the seniors. And then when they do get online, my father was a victim, they call them things. So when it comes to the real estate, one of the things I had asked a real estate attorney once, if I could keep my clients out of court, what do you recommend? They said, disclose, 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 and I'll go to back that in a second. But one of the things that we're seeing with a lot of online things is the crooks are just out there ready to hijack emails, to make their emails look like it's coming from a legitimate source, whether it be a realtor or the title company. And when you're wiring funds, and this is what's happening right now, is because people aren't going to the bank, they're getting their funds for their purchase, or they're getting money for refinance or anything like that. When there's money transferring and it's not in your hand, it's really good to make sure that you call up the source and verify the email. It was.
I never really thought about that, about the wires and somebody wiring you, hacking in, and you're doing a
I just had it happen. I had a client call me. Well, we were ready to close escrow, and he goes, "Joe, I'm confused. You're asking me to wire the funds now. How was that seminar you were in?" I go, "I wasn't in a seminar." "Oh yeah, it says you were in a seminar all day, and not to bother calling you, but just to wire the funds to close escrow." Really?
How scary.
And
you're talking millions, thousands of dollars.
That was. Matter of fact, and that's, home purchases are one of the largest investments people will make, whether you're buying land, whether you're buying an investment property or rental. So I have found that that's really good to tell people all the time on every email. That's what I send out. But going back to disclosures, one of the biggest frauds that could happen in real estate is not somebody conveying property to somebody and not being totally honest about it. You might get disclosures from the seller. It's awesome. Sellers are supposed to give disclosures. But I also, when I list properties, I try to make sure that we get as many disclosures up front, because that will help buyers decide what they're going to do with that. One of the other things that I've seen happen also is when a property closes, you may get something in the mail, and trust me, crooks do the mail too, is about how they can help you get your property tax bill paid. And then they can hijack your property bill or take money from you unnecessarily. So I would just tell you that when you use a realtor, we're here from the beginning to the end, and even after you close. For years, I've become friends with my clients for that reason, is because when you have a question, just call me and let me find the answers for you before you do something that might cost you money.
So really, when we're talking real estate fraud, we're kind of talking a couple areas, which is, like you said, there's a lot of online real estate companies, but you can't talk to the person then. So you don't know if that email, like you just said, is legit coming through when somebody's asking you to wire $200,000 for the down payment on your home.
Yes.
So that's really become probably pretty prevalent. So
very much so. But the good old phone is still using. Crooks are still using the phone, and my father's the first one to answer. One of the things that that you have to be conscious of is somebody telling you that they can do something for you. Just give them your credit card, that they'll run a credit report or whatever. I've also seen those online real estate. This is really important to know. I've seen the like for instance, well, I won't say a name, but an online real estate company that's offering to do it for less, and you don't have to worry about the buyers. Well, the small print is they charge even more percentage for all the extra fees and things that they don't tell you up front. So that's also a cost. And then, when you have a bona fide blood and flesh realtor, I'm going to make sure we go through over all the disclosures. I'm going to ask you all the questions. I'm going to make sure that if you're in a trust, if you're in an LLC, all these things have to be noted up front because you have to do the right paperwork. And trust me, we've killed a lot of trees.
So you see real estate fraud not only in the wiring of funds, but somebody's selling you, you're buying a home, and all of a sudden they didn't disclose something. And do people then, can they come to you for recourse if there was something major that didn't get put in that paperwork, or is your job to preemptively do that?
Well, that's a great question. I always try to be proactive as much as I can rather than reactive, but there's a part in the contract where you are agreeing, should anything go south, you're willing to mediate first and then arbitrate before litigate. Sorry, we try not to get the attorneys never want to sign that. but one of the things is really it could be an honest omission. It could be something the seller wasn't aware of, because the key question on every seller questionnaire is, are you seller aware of? And a lot of the time what happens is, say the husband's been taking care of the property and he passes. The wife may not know. Right? So when you also have your property in a trust, there's also protection to have your property in that trust, because there's statutes and paperwork that goes with that also protects you against that type of buyer maybe coming back to you.
So really sitting down with a live real estate agent is more than just buying a house. It's protecting people from fraudulent transfers of funds, disclosures being hidden, anything like that can, I'm an attorney, but reading that thick paper really does confuse me, and all the papers you have to sign. So having you walk people through that and saying, are you sure you understand this, that becomes really key to avoid this whole fraud.
I couldn't agree more. Having my own real estate company, which I did before I merged with Coldwell Banker, I had the onus of not only doing my own business, but the agents who work for me. So now that I have the strength of Coldwell Banker and their legal services, they make sure that weekly we're getting trained, especially with today with the coronavirus and the COVID forms and things like that. So we're trying to make sure that no matter what, we're up to date with what you need to know.
Again, if you have some questions, you feel like maybe you've been a victim of real estate fraud, or you just have questions in general about a transaction pending, you can either call Crime Victims United, 885-9544. You have to fix that one. And so it's 885-9544, 530 area code. We can certainly refer you out, or you can contact Joanne directly. I know I'm going to volunteer her, but I also know her very well. She's happy to answer questions.
My website is GoSeeJo, GoSeeJo.com. And should I give my phone number?
Sure.
530-308-2050.
We'll also be posting her contact information, the virtual clinic, on the button that says real estate fraud. So again, this is just something for you to be proactive so that we don't have to give you services as a victim.
Too, that I love the Crime Victims United, what you've done. I've been working your golf tournaments and your rib cook-offs and whatever it is you need. Glad to be here and glad you're here.